I've noticed that Kawaki has long been seen as a character who already received Ishiki's power and just doesn't know how to use it. But I think that's the easy explanation, and that's exactly why it's the mistake most people make. His Kokugan eye doesn't look like a finished weapon, it looks like a door Amado left slightly open. In the recent chapters of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, Amado himself once again turns Kawaki's potential into a bargaining chip. He promises to bring him closer to absolute power and protection. I think Kawaki has been fighting in a limited mode this whole time, without even realizing what his eye is actually capable of. Don't forget to watch this video all the way through and drop a like. It really helps me out and gives me the motivation to keep making new videos. Alright, now let's get into it. First, let's nail down the terminology. In the official Japanese Boruto materials, Kawaki's eye is referred to as the Black Eye, the Kokugan. The official Naruto databook links it to Sukunahikona and specifically states that the technique works through the left eye. That matters because way too many flashy but unconfirmed theories have grown up around the Kokugan. 8 spokes, time control, new portals, a separate ability for every segment. It all sounds impressive, but canon is being a lot more careful about it so far. So from here on, I'm going to separate facts from speculation, but I'll say my position up front. I believe the Kokugan's full potential genuinely hasn't been unlocked yet. As we know, Ishiki wasn't fighting at full power in a perfect body. After Amado and Koji betrayed him, he was forced to be reborn through Jigen. The official materials make it clear. Ishiki was searching for Kawaki specifically so he could achieve a full reincarnation and reclaim his full power. After the fight with Naruto and Sasuke, Jigen's body was breaking down, and the manga showed us that clearly. Ishiki displayed massive power, but he never actually proved that was his absolute ceiling. Kawaki isn't Ishiki yet. He only knows the basic techniques. He hasn't lived for 1,000 years, hasn't spent that time honing every single movement, and hasn't grown used to thinking on the scale of a god. You can feel that in 2 Blue Vortex. His power is enormous, but how he uses it often comes across as blunt, tense, and almost desperate. In the most recent chapters, he manages to get his body's limiters removed, and Amado gains even more leverage over him as a result. What's especially unsettling is that this power boost doesn't make Kawaki any freer. It just turns him into a more powerful tool for someone else's plans. The first additional ability I think might get added to his Kokugan is materialization. In Japanese folklore, Ishiki clearly echoes Isunboshi, the tiny hero who's helped along by a magic mallet. That object doesn't just change size, it also lets its owner conjure up whatever they wish for. The connection to Daikokuten isn't a coincidence either. He's associated with wealth, prosperity, and that very same magic mallet. Now, to be fair, the Boruto manga has already explained how a lot of objects appear through Daikokuten, so we can't really claim Ishiki was literally creating things out of thin air. But the mythological hint here is too precise to just brush aside. Right now, the system looks like this. Sukunahikona changes scale, Daikokuten stores and returns. The next step in that power could be the ability to create non-living matter without needing a pre-existing object to work from. Things like black rods, weapons, shields, giant blocks, you name it. That would turn the Kokugan from a random grab bag of cheat powers into a clear, consistent logic. Create, shrink, store, and return. Kawaki could reshape the battlefield before his opponent even realizes the space around him already belongs to him. But there's a problem. If materialization just shows up out of nowhere, it's going to look like a convenient gift from the writer. So the manga is going to need some limits on its energy cost, needing to have seen the object beforehand or the object only existing for a short time. Limits like that wouldn't weaken Kawaki, they'd actually make him more interesting. In Naruto, the most memorable abilities were memorable precisely because of their cost. Kamui demanded stamina, Pain's techniques depended on timing and the bodies carrying that power, and Baryon mode literally burned through Kurama. Power without any risk quickly fades into the background. The second possible ability that could get added is tied to life force and recovery. The basis for this one is simpler, but it fits surprisingly well into the story. In Japanese mythology, Sukunahikona isn't just a tiny deity, he's also associated with healing, hot springs, and knowledge. The manga has focused on the shrinking aspect so far, but that doesn't mean the rest of those symbolic layers are permanently off the table. Kawaki might learn to not shrink another person, but instead affect the state of living matter directly, stabilizing damaged tissue, speeding up recovery, or restoring a body to its previous form. That wouldn't just sound like regeneration anymore, it would sound like power over the physical state of any shinobi. The official description of Sukunahikona draws a deliberate line. Kawaki can shrink himself and non-living objects, but not other living beings. Limits like that rarely show up in the manga by accident. It's possible that any future evolution of this power won't break that rule outright, but find a way around it instead. Kawaki might not be able to shrink a shinobi, but he could temporarily halt cell breakdown, restore a damaged arm, or slow down tissue aging. Or, on the flip side, speed up an enemy's destruction through their existing injuries. Some fans think he'll eventually be able to control time, but personally, I wouldn't count on the writers handing us a gift like that. I know Daikokuten creates a space where time doesn't pass, so it's easy to picture time control as the next tier of power. But that doesn't necessarily mean the Kokugan itself can rewind the past or freeze the present. The same goes for the 8 spokes. The design definitely resembles the Dharma wheel and clearly carries symbolic weight. But the idea that each spoke equals one separate ability hasn't actually been confirmed in the manga. That said, the spokes could still end up being a visual language for growth. Isshiki's eye looked fully unlocked, while Kawaki's pattern read differently, almost like it hadn't fully synced up with the data he'd received. That's not proof of anything, but it's a great hook for future development. Once the limiters are removed, the segments could start showing up more strongly, marking how much access he's actually gained to power that was already built into him. In that case, Amado isn't adding new abilities to Kawaki at all. He's just removing the ceiling that was keeping him from handling the strain. Here's roughly how I think this plays out going forward. First, Kawaki learns to use Sukunahikona and Daikokuten more consistently. Then comes a crisis point he overloads, because Ishiki's power was never a set of ready-made buttons to press. And in the moment when someone who actually matters to him is in danger, Kawaki creates an object out of nothing for the first time, or steps in to save someone's life and undo their injuries. The power shows up exactly when it's needed, and I've noticed that's a storytelling move Ikemoto really likes to use. And here's the most interesting part. Kawaki's real power-up might not come from a bunch of brand new techniques showing up, but from how he learns to combine the abilities he already has, without being afraid that he might get destroyed in the process. And if materialization really does get added on top of that, Kawaki would essentially gain the power to create, alter, store, and return objects however he wants. That exact combination could show us why Ishiki's abilities were so dangerous in the first place. It was never about any one single technique. It was about how devastating the entire system became once someone fully mastered it. And that's exactly why I wouldn't treat the removal of the limiters as just another power-up. It's possible that what Amado is really opening up for Kawaki isn't a new ability at all, but access to a completely different level of using the power he already has, power that Amado will keep doling out on his own terms. Imagine Kawaki finally starting to think the way Ishiki did, not reacting to an opponent's attacks, but reshaping the terms of the fight before it even happens. That would work out great for Amado, because it would mean Kawaki stops getting in the way of his plan. If the writers actually go down this road, Kawaki's new form won't be dangerous because he suddenly grows 2 horns and picks up 10 new techniques. It'll be dangerous because he finally starts using the Kokugan as a complete system, instead of a bunch of separate abilities. And here's my main takeaway. Both abilities build on a system that already exists. They don't turn the Kokugan into some pile of random, overpowered abilities. Ishiki never showed us his true maximum because of Jigen, and Kawaki got the power, but he hasn't gotten access to it yet. His real potential doesn't just come down to genetics and whatever settings Amado's dialed in, it comes down to choice. Will he stay a vessel? Will he become a puppet? Or will he finally become the master of his own fate? Now I want to hear from you. Which ability sounds more plausible to you? Should the 8 spokes represent levels of unlocking, or is that just a memorable design choice? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel, because there's a lot more good stuff coming.